Let's take a look at this tweet from one of the Jubilee senators, that is Murkomen, Kipchumba Murkomen. All right, that's Murkomen tweeting on the 9th at around 9:13 p.m. After this experience, Supreme Court judges will no longer have the simple luxury to overturn the people's will. Mark my words. The responses on that tweet were overwhelming. I like to pick the one right at the top. That is Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr. Well, we will mark your words. Mark ours. We will not accept dictatorship. These are some of the conversations that have characterized the national scene. And of course, with only 35 days rather left to the 17th October election date or re-election date, or alternatively it can be a fresh elections date, we have a lot to talk about. I want to welcome the lady and gentlemen in studio, starting with Henry Maina. Henry Maina is a commissioner, with the Media Complaints Commission. Thank you, Henry, for coming. He's followed by Olo Janak, William Olo Janak. He is the chairman of the Kenya Correspondents Association. Thank you, Janak, for coming. The only lady in the team, that is Shiko Muiruri. She's the MD Semambali Communications. Thank you for coming. And I have Ohito David. He's a journalist, and welcome. You know, we need to get you a seat here permanently. Thank you. And so is Sadiq Shaban, who is also joining us. He's from the China Central Television Network. It was renamed to CGTV something.
You've
right?
been covering elections too long to realize what's going on around.
No, I actually realized that CCTV changed. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming. Let's begin with very brief responses on what's happening. And I begin from Henry. You are with also the Article 19, freedom of speech and expression. These are some of the things that we're seeing around. So a brief comment on the two stories before, and one of the stories I want you to comment, because we'll not be coming back to it, is a story of Moses Kuria and the freedom of expression, and how Kenyans, and especially the media, has been reporting on this. So let's go with Henry.
One, I think it's very clear that Kenyan media has been encumbered by partisanship. And this has to be seen when you define partisanship in ordinary thinking. It's what most journalists are taught to mean conflict of interest. And conflict of interest would imply that as a journalist, there are other factors that are influencing your decision to carry a story other than its news values. So those factors could be political, could be economic, could be personal, could be social. So in other thinking, you begin to say that people feel they have a duty to their family, they have a duty to their business, they have a duty to their profession, and that duty overwhelms the professional standards that ought to be used to filter what may be called a news story or not.
Okay.
In this situation of Kuria, I think, one, you would notice that, yes, he has been indicted and accused of incitement to hatred and discrimination sometimes. He has never been convicted. So even in our own news items, we've said that he is a serial hate monger. What is the basis? The basis is that he has been accused before, and yet we say in our country that if you've been accused and acquitted, or sometimes served your sentence, then that is the punishment you ought to have gone through, as opposed to living with this scar on you because you were once convicted. So to that extent, there is a problem about profiling. But two, that in that partisanship, we lose out painting the story for what it is.
Okay,
Because
I'd like to understand where does partisan come here in terms of how we report?
now it is, if you unpacked, as I said, conflict of interest, there are times when, as a journalist on the beat covering this story, you owe your duty to your organization. And this organization could be your ethnic group. You owe this organization to your employer, who perhaps is so close to the subject of the story. And therefore, you are treating them through filters. Will this be what my employer can accept if I said this about the subject? And that already is telling you that you are not employing news values as a determinant of whether this will be a story or not. You are employing other external factors, political, social, cultural, personal, as it were.
All right, Janak, your view. in terms of how we've reported the hate speech, because he's never been convicted, have we done a good job? And even in terms of what is being said currently in the media and how we are reporting on it?
I think Moses Kuria is being treated by the media as some sort of entertainment now. If you come to think of it, I mean, each time people think about Moses Kuria, because I mean, the media was not on Moses Kuria until he was arrested. Yet, there have been clips going around and that kind of thing.
We have reported, I reported myself last week about Moses Kuria.
Yeah, but how intense was it? How intense was the reporting? So when you now see a lot more reporting, in fact, most of today, Moses Kuria has been on air, radio and so on, but it's much more for the entertainment value that he now gives the country in terms of the outrageous things that so the media is not outraged by what Moses Kuria, you know, if Moses Kuria has been, arrested several times. Right now, people are talking about, oh, is he going to be taken to Pangani? Because Pangani then has become famous. See that, eh? I mean, and then you will notice also that the media is also falling into the whole trap of when Moses Kuria is arrested, then from the other side, we must also have another arrest. And the media is not questioning this. I mean, why do we have some kind of coincidence that Moses Kuria cannot be arrested on his own? It must be somebody from the other side. And then there's no interrogation of this pattern.
Okay.
You know.
So to you, you think the media has not paid a lot of attention on Moses Kuria. Let me talk to Shiko. Do you think we've not paid a lot of attention on Moses Kuria?
I think the media has paid a lot of attention to Moses Kuria and a lot of people who have been accused of hate speech. But as much as the media is going to put a spotlight, how does it help if, for example, a guy like Moses Kuria is accused of saying horrible things, and then you will have somebody like Raila Odinga, who has done this, gone to the same Moses Kuria, who has been arrested and is in jail, and calls him a political prisoner? We have to ask ourselves at the end of the day, regardless of what we do as media, what do politicians do to make us look stupid? As people who put spotlights on these people, even to protect them as opposition members, who then go and say, oh, no, this is my brother.
And we saw them hug with John Chomogama.
Yes, it's all BS.
Did you?
I'm sorry. There is no way that anybody can come and say Moses Kuria is trying to finish the opposition. And the opposition leader is calling him a political prisoner because he has been held with his guys.
Did that shift attention?
Double standard and
did that shift attention from what we were supposed to report about this? It shifted attention.
At some point, we now stop making noise because we say, why do we need to do this? Aren't we the fools? Aren't we the clowns?
And the media is
fueling
that.
I was one of the people who made a lot of noise about Moses Kuria, and I said, you cannot say this, you cannot say this, you cannot say this. But there is Raila shaking his hand and calling him a political prisoner then.
But in all fairness, the media has given Moses Kuria platforms to debate all along before Raila went to shake his hand. So he's a hero in terms of among the easy to host politicians. Is Moses Kuria. So today we can say by Raila shaking his hand, he's the one who's called our bluff. But the truth is, Ken Mijungu and others, he's walked out of set. We've forgotten about it and reinvited him. So we've created a hero out of this person who...
All right, Ohito, entertainment, we treat Moses Kuria antiques as a source of entertainment, according to Janak. You work in the newsroom. Do you agree that's the value we give such stories?
Thank you, Kenyan. It's nice to be back to the newsroom.
Cruel entertainment.
Let me begin by saying that we are in the tragedy of our times. That even if the mainstream decided to shut out Moses Kuria, he would still be trending on Twitter and Facebook. So how does a mainstream editor deal with that? From where I sit, and as an old school editor and journalist, I would say I have no time for these clowns, Mudamas of this world, Moses Kurias of this world. Never ever.
You'll never accept a story.
I will have no time. I think Kenya has enough.
Even telling Kenyans he's been arrested, you will not do that.
Why should I tell them? He can go and say it on other platforms where he has following. I belong to that school of thought. I think this country has so many issues to attend to that the little media space we have, should be dedicated to matters which can make this country better, not clowns.
Okay. Sadiq.
There is a drop of Moses Kuria and Johnston Muthama in most politicians. It's just the degree that differs. We've seen this particular gentleman and many others of his ilk saying one thing today, being paraded in the court of justice tomorrow, would still invite him to the set. He would yank off his microphone, walk mid-air, would still invite him to make his case, you know, in radio stations, and he will still be on paper. So the issue is, I think media has found itself in a catch-22 situation. It's like Donald Trump. How do you deal with this person? Because it appears as if we can, in this country, the judicial system can easily overturn a presidential election than to jail a person like Moses Kuria. And what a tragedy.
But if you look at the Cohesion Act, Sadiq, under all fairness, it says that reconciliation is given the first priority.
We may not, well...
So we don't have to jail them
and I think
if they apologize.
Perhaps this is not entirely, you may say, about Moses Kuria and others like him. You may also look at the Kaparo-led commission and really see whether it's time to audit what it is they are doing.
So we should expand the picture and leave them.
It took noise from social media for people to actually bring this issue up for attention. And now you see, he's actually in jail today, mostly because of the noise that was made first on social media, which was then picked up and amplified by
the main media. I understand from my director that we have to talk about this a little bit more, but first, as we take a short break, I want to bring up this tweet from Junaid Mohammed, Suna East MP. He says that, for heaven's sake, tell the lady, who's the only one in the panel, Shiko, that Raila Odinga didn't visit Moses Kuria at Pangani. He went there to see Senator Muthama, so it's a correction. But I think she was referring also to the situation where they even ate fish at Ronaldo at one time.
Let me jump to the...
Because we have to take a break.
Very quickly.
Why don't we come back? Why don't we come back? Why don't we come back and then you can jump on it? Or, yeah, Shiko, you can respond to that in a second, then I take a break.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, let's take a short break right here on Press Pass. Remember, the hashtag is Press Pass. We are here, and you can join the conversation at William Janak, at Ohito AOL, at Sadiq Shaban with a double D, at Maina OH, at Ms. Shiko, and at Ken Mijungo, at NTV Kenya, at Press Pass. We're back shortly.